Hey, it's your old pal Slim, and this is 70mm, a podcast for film lovers. Every Monday, I sit down and record with dear friend and artist Danny Haas.
I mean, it could be the best.
And our own spiritual advisor, Proto.
How about Gandalf, his white getup here, and he's calling his horse Shadowfax. His drip is unbelievable. That hair.
And together as friends forever, we discuss recently watched movies. Later in this episode, we're going to be talking about the extended edition of Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Is this the one extended version of the trilogy that needed to be trimmed down a bit? Find out now. Can we talk about a movie that Danny watched this week?
Which one?
I need to talk about it. I don't know if this was a date night movie. What fired this up in the house while you were sleeping?
Listen, it's Christmas time. This is a holiday tradition to watch this movie.
Really?
Yeah. Do you not watch while you were sleeping at Christmas time?
No, I've never seen it.
Interesting.
Bill Pullman? Is it Bill Pullman?
Bill
Paxton?
And his hair. No, it's not Paxton.
What's the other white guy that Proto gets confused with those three? Who's the one that was in the baseball movie? Dennis Quaid.
Oh, Dennis Quaid. the same guy. How many times do we have to go over this?
The trifecta. Yes, Marcy says it.
While You Were Sleeping is so good. The plot.
Somebody goes into a coma at Christmas?
Well, yes. Sandra Bullock is a token taker at a
excuse me,
train in Chicago. Well, I don't know what they're called. Tellers. Not a teller. Whatever. She takes people's tokens to get on a train. And she kind of falls in love with a guy that gives her tokens all the time. She's never met him. One day he gets mugged on the train track and gets thrown onto the tracks, and she saves his life. But he goes into a coma. And so when she goes to check on him at the hospital, she's mistaken to be his fiance. And it gets too far in. She continues to let the family believe that she's the fiance, et cetera, et cetera. Enter Bill Pullman, the brother of the coma guy. And love blossoms.
Oh, wait.
That's
I thought Bill
say.
Pullman was the guy that gets in a coma.
No, his brother does.
Oh, God.
The guy in the coma doesn't do anything. He's in a coma.
Yeah, he's... Matt, please.
I thought the plot was Bill Pullman is in a coma, and then she takes care of him, and he wakes up, and they start, dating.
No, Peter is in a coma, also played by Peter Gallagher. I love this movie. 5 stars.
So cute. How about the Italian dads or whatever?
The Italian dads. The fathers, yeah.
Yeah.
Ray Romano's dad and the old dad from Christmas Vacation, I think.
They really killed it.
Yeah, they're great.
I was about to try to do a Ray Romano impression, but I don't even know if I have one. So
I think you should try. I bet it's going to sound like Seinfeld.
Where do you even begin?
I don't know. I was about to do it, just wing it, but I don't even know if I can wing it. I don't want to get kicked off Discord for.
I think you have to hold your nose to do a
spaghetti joke or something. Not gonna get kicked off this Discord tonight.
Thank you.
So what's the Christmas aspect of it? Do they go? Do they go under a tree and they go ice skating or something?
It's at Christmas time.
It's also very feel good. It's a feel good movie. There's no sadness, just a joy. I've seen it a couple times. It kind of reminds me of Two Towers in that way.
First of all, there's only one tower in Two Towers. That's one of my talking points. I only saw one tower, so we'll get into it later in our discussion. Just right around the corner, we'll dig in. Just a reminder: Two Towers. If you want to skip to the Two Towers segment, use the chapters in your podcatcher app, podcast app. We'll get there real quick. Chat is doing the woman fainting gif right now at my comment about One Tower, so we'll get into it. Proto, do you want to provide an update on your house situation? You know, you have 2 broken TVs. Your son is rebelling. Your young son is rebelling against you. He's broken 2 televisions. But somehow you watched a movie this past week. Can you explain this?
Yeah, I may have lost those battles, but I refuse to lose the war to my son and his reign of terror in this household. So we watched a movie as a family. We watched the new movie on, was this HBO Max? I watched 8-Bit Christmas. Yeah, HBO Max. It's a new HBO Max original. It's a nice little family movie taking place at Christmas, a little bit of a Princess Bride vibe where you get Neil Patrick Harris giving you a narration of a story when he lived in Chicago as a kid in the 80s. He's trying to get a Nintendo. He's telling this story to his daughter. And it's just about him being a kid, you know, figuring out a way to he needs to have it. Everyone, you know, all kids knew this who grew up through this phase. You needed the Nintendo. How are you going to get it for Christmas? And that's his journey. So I watched half of it. Okay. I slept through most of it, but what I saw, I enjoyed. I award you a heart. Go in peace.
Big night. Big night.
How do you feel? You made a comment. I don't know if this was I don't want to reveal a DM. I don't know where this comment was, but it was about the fact that you don't have a TV. So without revealing that comment, just in case it was a DM, do you want to elaborate on that for me?
All I said is that, paraphrasing myself,
okay,
having a television in your house increases the desire to watch a movie. Not having that may lessen someone's desire to watch movies. That's the gist of what I was saying. So that's where I'm at right now. It's dark times, but we'll get through this.
Well, we're all praying for you. You know, you're in our thoughts and prayers. So something will happen because of that. I believe it.
Well, you know, I received a message this week actually, or tonight. I was somewhere and I was given something. I was given a gift. I'll just reveal it to you guys on the camera here. I was given a gift. Do you recognize what this is?
What is that? Is that RAN?
RAN 4K. This was given to me as a gift tonight. This is a steel case. That's what I'm holding.
Excuse me.
Oh my God. Do you hear that steel? That's what I got.
That.
Yeah, so I think this is a sign
that your TV's coming.
This is.
You can't even watch it.
This was a message that I received today about the future. This is a message from the future.
The thoughts and prayers have already worked, and it's in the form of a steel 4K book for RAN.
Everyone mail Proto a 4K desk right now.
Believe. You must believe.
Can you get a photo of that steelbook into the live chat? They're losing their minds. I still haven't recovered from my One Tower comment, so let's please throw them a bone.
Yeah, jeez.
We should say hello to some new patrons that joined us, new friends joined us this week. Daniel and Jamie joined our Patreon. You can sign up for $4 a month, get access to the exclusive VHS Village Discord, listen live every week, chat movies, 70mmpod.com. A photo has just been posted in live chat. And now there's a meetups channel, believe it or not. Believe
people
it.
Just meeting up.
Believe it. There's people getting together, watch movies together within, 6 feet of each other, obviously. And we just posted the Darjeeling Limited to the 70mm vault just for supporters. So you can sign up for our Patreon to listen to exclusive episodes or become a supporter on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you so choose. Casey's asking in chat to hear about me watching Tick, Tick, Boom. That's a real thing that happened. Danny,
I know.
Danny laid himself bare in front of us last week to talk about Tick, Tick, Boom. So I felt like I had to support my dear friend.
Thank you.
And I watched it and I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. I gave it 4.5 stars in Letterboxd.
That's incredible, actually. What did you like about it?
Love the music. Andrew Garfield's hair.
Right?
Andrew Garfield is nobody's talking about this. I haven't seen this written anywhere. Andrew Garfield's an amazing actor. He's a real talent. He sang in this movie. In this movie, he is a talent. And in chat says, I thought this 4.5 star was a troll at first. He's been conditioned to think that way. Yeah, I had a great time. I thought the music was great. I love the way it was, the way the story played out, because it was based on a, off-Broadway show that he did, and it kind of weaves in with the story. And, this was before Rent, so he has like this big failure. I had a lot of fun. Liked it a lot.
Thank you.
Good
Incredible.
direction.
I'm happy you liked it. I was hoping for a minimum 3 stars from you, so 4.5 feels like a victory.
Yeah.
Major victory.
Singing was great.
Danny's declaring victory at 4.5.
I have to. I have to know my limits.
I mean, can you imagine just being a rich, wealthy actor, and you want to roll? You have to learn piano, and you're going to be taking singing lessons. Proto, can you imagine if you had the wherewithal, the time? I'm going to learn piano. I got to learn to sing. I'm going to be in a movie.
I don't know if I could do it. These actors, how do they do it? How do they find the strength?
Our heroes.
Proto's on one tonight. He wrote that synopsis for Two Towers. He is on one.
He's just ready to get to it.
I'm free. I'm done for the night.
He's off the clock. So I highly. It's on Netflix. Everything Danny said last week was real. Every week we give out a free year of Letterboxd Pro, and gets rid of ads. You can see your stats at the end of the year. I mean, every day you can see your stats. You can see where movies are streaming. You can find out where Tick Tick Boom was streaming. You wouldn't have to Google it like some schlub. This week's winner is Heston_4905 on Instagram. You did it.
Congrats.
Free year of Letterboxd Pro. They posted their Spotify Wrapped this week on IG, and we were their #1 listened podcast.
Wow.
7,000 minutes of our podcast Heston consumed.
God
Wait, how many minutes have we done?
70 episodes they listened to. Do you believe?
Holy cow.
Heston, why aren't you in our Discord right now? Heston,
come home.
double in chat. You didn't care when it was mine last year. Can we ban double from this? Ian in chat. Heston, I will sponsor a month of Discord for you.
The sponsorships are out.
What time we got here? 18 minutes. We got some VMs to get to. Maybe we just jump into Two Towers.
Was there something else you wanted to talk about? You look like there was something else.
No, I talk too much.
Wow.
I try to avoid me talking too much on this podcast. I have to hear myself while I edit, trying to cut myself out. Imagine having to listen to your own voice 3 to 4 times any given week in 2-hour edits, Get tired of hearing yourself think.
You spend most of your day listening to yourself.
What does that do to a man's psyche? Honestly.
Think about us.
The Two Towers. This is Lord of the Rings month. It's time to get to the second one. The extended dish is streaming on HBO Max right now, 4 hours long. Whew. We had a big hit last week. Danny was reviewing the number crunching machine, the ticker tape that's printing out numbers.
Yeah.
Big week last week for this. It's all been leading to the second one now, Proto. We heard tell that this is a big synop that you have prepared.
Yeah, I spent some time researching, looking into, Middle Earth and the history that it has. As I was doing it, I got sucked in because I do this every now and then. I think whenever I watch one of these movies, I think, oh, you know what? Let me read about the wizards again. But then you start clicking around. You're like, let me just read the Sauron synopsis one more time. Oh, what about this? Oh, he was a lieutenant first. Morgoth, let's read about that. And you just find yourself wandering around. So I did a little bit of that. So I want to share a little bit of what I read about, and mostly dealing with the race of men. In the first age, men awoke in the east of Middle Earth and heard rumor of a great sea and a light in the west. They left Hildorian for the west, splitting apart, with some going north to the forests of Mirkwood, and others continuing west, settling in Barrowland, far west of the Shire, past the Blue Mountains. For their part in defeating Morgoth in the War of Wrath, these men of the West were given the island of Numenor as a gift. The Númenóreans were a great people for a time, but over the Second Age, they were corrupted by Shadow and the deceit of Sauron. In their madness, they attacked the Valar to their ruin, and their island was swallowed by the sea. Seeking refuge in the east, Isildur and Anarion founded the realm of Gondor. They befriended the Northmen, who were shared descendants of the Edain from the east. These men were known as the Rohirrim, the Horse Lords, and a great ally of Gondor. In the time of the Ring, the world of men is covered in shadow. Theoden, king of Rohan, is inveigled by the wiles of Saruman, his land overrun by orcs. Gondor is shrinking as the Dark Lord's grip tightens, ready to crush the last bastion of the race of men. Frodo and Samwise are seeking passage to Mordor, but many dangers lay in their way, including the greed of men. The Fellowship has broken, but there is hope. Aragorn, rightful king of Gondor, stands with King Theoden. As 10,000 orcs come from Isengard to lay waste to the Rohirrim, old alliances prove faithful, and the men of Middle-earth seek to prove that they are not as weak as once thought.
Just sat back like his life's work was complete in his throne. I was seeing some buzz in our Discord and on Letterboxd that this was like the favorite. You know, people were calling this their favorite of the trilogy. Mm-hmm. Is that the buzz that's floating around, Danny, in your experience?
Yeah, I remember I have a dear friend who watched a lot of the Lord of the Rings with me. He's like probably the one person that got me into it as well. He kept saying how much Two Towers was his favorite, and I feel like it's like the Empire Strikes Back of the trilogy. Like for sure, it's great. I don't know why it's not my favorite, but I do enjoy it quite a bit.
On IG, we posted what version people prefer. You know, the extended or the non-extended. 87% prefer the extended cut.
People are smart. We have smart people following us.
Proto, what's your experience with the Two Towers? Do you hear those whispers that this is the one?
I was hearing those whispers this week. For me, I've never really felt that way, though. I've always been a Fellowship guy. And then, honestly, Two Towers is where I get stuck, and I never make it to Return of the King. I would always get bogged down watching this one. So, like for me, in my head, this has always been number 3 of the trilogy in terms of which ones I like the most. But that's without having seen Return of the King in so long. It's just for whatever reason, that's how I remember this movie.
The bogging down to me is the int segments with Treebeard. They are mind-numbingly boring.
There's like 2.5 hours of that.
Get me out of those scenes ASAP, and they take the longest to get out of.
My first note, James was doing homework when I put this on right at dinner time. I was running up against the clock last night to get this in.
My gosh.
And Gollum appeared on screen.
Oh no.
And James said to me, "Is that Dobby?"
It's Dobby all grown up.
This is just one of those things. When I rewatch this, I have like this memory of me rewatching this movie a lot when I was younger. Like every one of these scenes, I was like, oh yeah, here's that scene or here's that moment. But I don't know what happened in my life that like blocked out this time frame. I don't know if it was like overdone or I just like forgot that I watched these a ton. I don't know, but yeah, I remember like every scene. I mean, the big battle scene, Gandalf coming down the hill. But Proto, do you remember the first time you saw this movie?
I don't remember the first time. I really don't. I know. I mean, it was in the theater. I was, midnight showing. That's how I saw all of these movies. But yeah, I don't remember that night at all, really. Yeah, I just remember like subsequent viewings. And I don't really have like a clear memory of when I watched the extended. And I actually don't even know which ones I watched the most now that I think about it. Like some of this, it felt, and maybe because it's been a while since I watched the whole thing, but it just felt so fresh seeing this again, even though I think I tried to watch it like 3 years ago, but didn't watch the whole thing.
Yeah. Forrest wasn't there saying in chat, wasn't there a ton of hype about the visual effects of the Battle of Helm's Deep? That I also remember that. Like when this movie came out, like the Helm's Deep was the Matrix highway of this movie. And they're like, oh my God, how'd they do so many characters? Like, how is this done? And then, there's like the making of previews and stuff.
I watched that one about the, it was the, what was that called? Like the Warriors or something. It was one of the bonus features, and it talks about Helm's Deep a lot, but it's mostly about the people doing the stunts in all those scenes, and it like follows them around and just their relationship that they had with Vigo and Orlando, and it was actually really cool just seeing like the little world. They had like a barracks that they all lived in, and there's like I don't know like. Probably like 50 of these, stuntmen doing these different scenes. So they just were like a family, like, recording all this. It was really cool to see.
Danny, what's your background with Two Towers?
I'm in the same boat. I don't remember the first time I watched this. I don't remember getting into the extendeds either, but I know the extendeds are all I watch. So yeah, that's really my background. And I also don't watch this one as much as the others because Fellowship is my fave and Return of the King is so good. I don't know why I don't ever just throw on Two Towers. Maybe because it's 4 hours, but also it's just not a choice of mine to pick this one all the time. And it's really weird because Helm's Deep is pretty incredible.
Right.
But also it takes like 3 hours to get to it with a lot of tree walking.
9 hours of those hobbits and the tree in this movie. I still am blown away that they filmed all 3 movies together. Like the length of these films, I just can't understand the logistics of it. My little pea brain cannot wrap around the idea of them planning to film all of this in one shot. It's just so bonkers to me.
Yeah, totally. Especially when you see the work that went into the scenes. I also watched that one about like the forced perspective. That I've seen that one before, but watching that again, just the amount of effort that it's not even like you're shooting simple things and it's going to be 9 hours long. At the end of the day, it's like these really complicated, complex problems that they have to solve with like cutting edge CGI at the time. It's just and the amount of human effort involved. It really is mind boggling of how this could even be done. Like, how do you even organize something like this? Like just all the different people that worked on this. It's insane.
Proto, what's on your list for this movie?
First thing, be remiss without talking about, again, the opening. I mean, when I think of this movie, I mean, there's Helm's Deep, but I think of this because, man, just this, what happens with Gandalf of like, you think, especially I like read the book, so I knew the story, but if you're going into this and you have no idea what happened to Gandalf and the movie starts with him, if you like think he's dead and him grabbing the sword on the way down to fight the Balrog, like, oh my gosh, just incredible opening to this movie.
He stops being like just a wizard. Like he becomes like this warrior as well. And he's battling this incredible creature. And the shot of them falling out of the tunnel into the giant cavernous like lake is some incredible shots. I can't get over how good that is.
So I think I'm still the only person that watched the 4K UHD of this.
No, I'm done with those.
Danny quit 4K movies forever, potentially after Fellowship of the Ring debacle. But awesome. I powered through, and I will amend a comment that I made last week that everything looked good. This was the first movie where I don't know what changed, or maybe the angle that I was watching at it, because I don't know if I was on the floor of this viewing, but some of the aged CGI started to little show some tears a little bit.
Talk to us.
Notably on Gandalf on that like right before he gets pulled down. Like the special effect of him standing on the thing right before he gets pulled down, I was like, ugh. That looked really bad. I don't know if that in 1080p that looks better, but I was like, that has not aged well. And I do want to talk a little bit more about the Gandalf, but like later when Gollum first appears, that has started to show a little bit of an age. Like there was no like long extended stuff with Gollum. But the Gandalf appearing and his like, he does that like staff, the staff changed hands when he like appears. Like I have seen maybe the reason why I remember seeing all these scenes is just from memes. Like you have seen maybe half this movie on Twitter or on a message board or on a Discord. And it's like implanting fake memories of me maybe watching this movie as a kid. What is that? Isn't that like a phenomenon that X-Files talks about? I can't remember what it's called, but
is that legal? That
was like one of my first notes. But I loved seeing, the Mandela effect, Megan says. Yeah, I think it has created that in my brain. But yeah, the Gandalf the White appearing, and then when they go to, I was cracking up, let me find the note, where he goes to save the king because he's like, Snape, bargain bin Snape has transfixed the king. And Gandalf goes to like break the spell.
Cut the string. I'm pissed.
He goes to save the king, and the king's like, "You have no power here." And then Gandalf's like, "Oh, hold on, let me take off my gray cloak. I'm actually wearing a white cloak, bro." And he's like, "Oh God!" And now he's like, "Power works." I was cracking up.
The power of the light.
Let's move on.
Sorry. I just wanted to point that out.
What is he? He's the guardian of the hidden flame. Is that his title? And he busts that out, pulling out the white robes. Oh God, what a scene!
Yeah, it looks great. I loved how he was like walking in like with a limp too, and he kept the staff.
How about that line? So Gandalf again, the best. His line when he I mean, I know we're jumping ahead here, but when he confronts, what's his face, Junior Snape. What's it?
Grima Wormtongue, please.
Grima. He says, "I have not passed through fire and death
to bandy crooked words with a witless worm."
Oh, what a line.
I actually, it's funny you said that because I wrote, like, I think that entire scene where he's talking with the king, the writing there is insane. I don't know if that's directly from the book.
Dark have been my dreams of late. Your fingers would remember their old strength better if they grasped your sword.
And that entire exchange was like, holy hell, this is amazing writing in here. So good. And also the music playing like during that entire thing, that whole sequence is just absurd.
Gosh, I feel like I watched the making of that scene. I can't remember now. Shit. I should have watched it again. I think they film it a few times in him with different levels of makeup, actually.
Yeah.
I can't remember how it works.
Yeah, there was some miniature stuff too that I saw later in the movie. Like when the water comes in at the tower, that felt like pretty hardcore miniature work.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate.
The dam. Yeah. And they used the same shot from Fellowship. Did you notice it? When the tree gets knocked in down into the thing. In the Fellowship, they're cutting the trees and dropping it down.
Right.
And this one, the trees are getting washed in. They flip.
Is that the same shot?
It's the same shot of the tree falling in.
That's awesome.
Danny, what's on your list before you strangle me for my Snape comment?
I wrote down Gollum. I still kind of, I think it's incredible what they did. And I still kind of get this kind of sense of, after so many years watching these movies, how groundbreaking of what they did with that character, with Andy Serkis's motion cap. And because I think the moments that it kind of, my jaw still kind of drops is when Frodo or Sam are interacting with the character, like when he attacks them or choking them, like any other, like I feel like so much stuff doesn't kind of hold up, but him being able to have grabbed Andy Serkis's hand and to be replaced by, like, it just feels like nothing else did it this well. And this felt like it set the bar for what to do with motion capture. Yeah. I can't get over how good, not just like the CG of Gollum, like, yes, it's aging bad, but just the fluidity of his movements and the interactions with the characters themselves, that still kind of holds up very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like it's like a modern Jar Jar Binks, but works better than that. And I don't want to say that like everything with Gollum looked bad. There was just like some spots with like shadows that just were like, he's like obviously not there, et cetera, et cetera. But for the most part, I mean, yeah, it's still revolutionary. I mean, not for the most part, it is revolutionary.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that he's in so much of this movie and a CGI character, it's still bonkers.
Yeah, visually it's aging, but the motion capture and what Andy Serkis did and how alive that character feels, and just, it's so believable. The movement is so good in this. So yeah, I in that way it holds up. Like, it doesn't look, it's aging in that way, but otherwise it looks great.
Yeah, like shading, textures, shadows, all that stuff is just not aging well, but the actual performance of the character still looks real solid.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to go back to Gandalf. How about Gandalf? He's in his white, his white getup here, and he's calling his horse Shadowfax. His drip in this movie is unbelievable. That hair, him whistling to this horse, I think he had like Nikes on underneath the robes. Did you see those? He looked amazing in that scene.
I always love when Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli are walking up, and he does the fake Sauron voice. Christopher Lee recorded the voice as well. And I love, because it's just a good bait and switch. I really dig it.
Yeah, him saying how like long, or to him that he was like in a comatose state, like Bill Pullman was in Sleepless in Seattle, but like how he like didn't really even remember their faces, but then it like started to slowly come back to him.
Gandalf. Yes. That was what they used to call me. Gandalf the Grey. That was my name.
Yeah, Gandalf, he lived millennia in between dying after the Balrog and him returning to this point now. And it's been so long that he doesn't even remember his name was Gandalf. Like, that's how much time has passed for him between like when he died and seeing the hobbits, Aragorn again, which is like a crazy idea. And he just says, I am Saruman, or Saruman as he should have been. Like, that idea, like, it's so cool. What a cool character where he's like a different person at this point.
Yeah. The music that plays when they ride their horses together. Are you kidding me?
Stop. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I mean, what a moment in that scene. Cripes alive. I mean, even the start of the movie where they're chasing after the hobbits, they're like a couple days behind or whatever. All of those shots are ridiculous. The long range shots. I mean, how did they do it back then? What, a helicopter? I don't know. Doesn't make any sense.
A drone. It had
There's no drones back then.
I mean, I think that whole running scene, I think I read that all three of them got hurt working on it. Not only the big, Vigo kicking and breaking his toe on the helmet, but like, I think Orlando broke a rib on those segments, and then Gimli dislocated a shoulder as well, doing all that stuff. So that whole them running after the orcs and the Orcai or whatever was a toll on them.
Can we get back to Helm's Deep? Can we get back to?
Have we even gotten there yet?
Can we? One sec. I just need to bring up the man of the hour, Aragorn. How about when Viggo in this movie is off the charts. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sexual
He's
energy.
Off the charts.
Talk about drip.
Oh my God.
Did you post the art? Did you post the art yet of this episode?
No.
Please.
Poe Dameron speaking Elvish to the horse. Am I in love?
Poe Dameron. My God.
Oh, that was my other part. Cut that out. Aragorn speaking Elvish to the horse. Am I in love? What my note was that this is my Poe Dameron, because I feel like here's a trilogy, right? Here's a movie trilogy. Where in the second movie, this character Aragorn is established and given so much to his character that like means so much for the rest of the story. And you just like see this character bloom, whereas like, a trilogy, this could be just about Frodo and Sam, but there's so many characters that are so rich in this. And the reason I was thinking of Poe Dameron is because I feel, not to bring up Star Wars in this holy moment,
It's fine, go for it.
When I think of that character, he has like nothing. Like he's like paper thin, I feel like, through the new trilogy of Star Wars. But that's like what I want for that character. I wish it was so much more full in the way that like Aragorn's character is in this.
I mean, Poe in that first movie, electric. The memes, the gifs from that first Force Awakens movie. And then, he goes through like the learning thing in Last Jedi, good or bad. And then I don't know what happened in the third movie.
See?
Palpatine's back. Yeah,
you don't even care.
Back. We can't dwell on it. But yeah, Aragorn, unreal in this movie. Like every scene.
And then we add Carl Urban, Éomer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't get over, I can never get over the cast in these films and how perfectly cast everyone is. I love Éomer in this. Him and Éowyn, his sister, the introduction to them is amazing. I love the two of them in this.
I mean, Éowyn knows what we see in Aragorn.
Right?
Oh,
yeah.
She knows.
She knows.
Good heavens.
Carl knows.
You know who else knows? Liv Tyler. How about their flashback scene at Rivendell? Are you kidding me?
Unreal.
Is this becoming Proto's favorite Lord of the Rings movie as we discuss it?
Is this happening? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say about this movie.
Uh-huh.
We're getting there.
Let it out. Okay, so I tried and failed to bring up Helm's Deep. We talked a little bit about it earlier in CGI.
You're skipping like 3 hours ahead.
We don't have to go in order. We can go whenever. It's our podcast.
Right,
we can do whatever we want. Helm's Deep, the big battle, them walking up there, the army, the Uruk-hai, and them, thinking that they're going to hold this army back. I mean, Danny, how do you feel about this segment of the movie? What's it feel watching this again?
I don't know. It's hard to describe every time this scene sets up, because I honestly, every time it comes up, I forget how long this battle is. Like this battle it feels like it's an hour out of this film. The different setups for, breaching the first wall, falling back to the keep, and then riding out on the horses. But then you have Legolas snowboarding down the stairs, firing off arrows. You have Aragorn tossing Gimli onto the front steps, and then them going back to back, swinging around. I mean, there's so much to this battle. On top of everything the orc and the Uruk-hai are doing, the raising of the ladders, the torch bearer running to blow up the hole in the wall, which gets me I laugh every time, because when they drop the bomb inside, or whatever you want to call it, there's already 10 people holding torches around the entrance, like just walk in there, one of them, but we have to wait for the runner to blow it up. There's just so much going on, and it's a perfectly executed battle.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably one of the top 10 action scenes ever.
Top 5.
I mean,
Top 3.
Danny just called it top 3. Can we go higher? Is it possible to go higher?
Can I get a top 2?
Proto, what are your thoughts?
Well, Danny was, he's nailing all the parts, but then the way this all it's perfect because the way it all comes together, right? This crazy battle, all these things happen. They get locked inside of the room there, and Aragorn's in there. And just think of Aragorn. He is the king of Gondor, the rightful king. And here he is trapped inside Theoden's throne room, right? And what's his advice? Ride out with me. Out with me. Are you kidding me? That scene, he is the boss, Aragorn, in that. He just he calls it like he sees him. Like, that's what you got to do in the moment. And he nails it.
And Theoden's face, he knew. Like, he knew this was the move and he was going to follow him.
I mean, but then you get to the point. So they're riding out on the horses. And they're going down like the steps and all this stuff. They're blowing through those Urukai. And I think like right before that, he remembers the quote from Gandalf. And then you see him, I'm doing a little hand walking motion on the camera. He walks out there on that horse. And then I remember seeing this in theaters. I remember losing my shit when that scene happened in the theater. My God. And then Carl Urban appears. Then the light comes down as they're coming down there. I mean, are we going higher than top 2 right now? Are we going higher?
Listen, are we going up there?
What's standing in our way? Can you even name a contender?
This is the #1 best battle scene in all of cinema. You heard it here.
Golly. Yeah, I remember that scene. I just have I don't rewatch these movies, but I remember that moment 100%.
Everything else we talk about is downhill from here. We're just cruising at this point.
Chess. Nice post, Chess. That guy got the axe and the balls. I wrote that down when he climbed over the wall. Good Lord. Now, do we want to... Go ahead.
No, I was going to let you talk your way into this one. Go ahead. I know where you're going.
You know where I'm going, I guess. Do we want to talk about Treebeard and his section of this extended kit?
How about him getting offended by being called a tree, but his name is Treebeard?
It's in your name.
I laugh every time. And then it's all boring as hell.
I think one thing I forgot was how much of the movie rotates between the exciting stuff and then this segment of the film. They kind of come back and I just kind of eye rolled. Is that a normal feeling among Lord of the Rings fans, in the extended cut with this plot? Or are we out on a ledge here?
I bet we're in the minority on that one, probably.
I didn't really mind it. I know what you're saying because I have that memory as well. But for whatever reason, watching it this time, I even enjoyed these bits of it. I feel like it gives it a good balance between the other stuff that's going on with Helm's Deep, and following just these two different stories. It's just and then also with Frodo and Samwise, which we haven't really talked about either that much. But it creates it's very long. This is a long movie. It's almost 4 hours. So you're covering a lot of ground. So you have this extreme action where I think if all of Helm's Deep happened at once, it might be a little overwhelming. So even though this is super chill, it also is it's a good tribute to what is the story in the book. There's so much that isn't even here, right? That goes on.
No, you're right.
So
you got to know what happens.
They could have I think they could have just trimmed it up. They went back to them trying to talk them into going to war. Maybe too many times. Cut 5 segments of them going back to them, walking around, getting nothing done. I don't know. What is in the theatrical cut? Is this segment...
I don't remember anymore.
Does anyone know in chat? Is this segment just way shorter in the theatrical with the trees? The other thing, and I was actually listening back, as I do, listening back for like the 8th time, the last episode of Lord of the Rings Fellowship. We didn't really talk about any negatives. So this is probably the first time really that we're digging into something that we or I didn't like. And Saruman, Christopher Lee's character, he's in this tower. When the trees arrive, they show him at the top and he's like looking down frantic. He's like moving at the top of the tower. They cut to that similar scene maybe 6 times. And it's the same thing. He's just like looking down like, oh, what's going on? Oh no. We get it, Peter. Show it twice. Tops. It was overkill.
Is it really 6?
It is a lot. It's a lot. It's more than twice. It's maybe 3 or 4 times.
Let him have this, Proto. Let him have this, Proto.
Maybe show it once. Maybe show it once. So it got to the point where I was like, did they just add this entire thing for the extended cut? Like, did they not have any other footage of Christopher Lee when his tower area is being destroyed? I mean, like, come on.
Perfect movie other than the 2-second clip that kept appearing of Saruman looking down from his tower.
Who's up? Is it Danny? What else is on your list?
The introduction to Faramir, I love as well. I mean, I love everything about this film, but Faramir, I love the character of Faramir. When he catches Frodo and Sam watching the men walk through in the Oliphant and his little cave, camp area. I just, the introduction to him, the introduction to his father, Denethor, and him learning about Boromir and how he died, the ring itself, and it's a great interaction. I think a lot of that actually is cut from the theatrical, especially the dream he has walking out to the boat, I think is also added for this, seeing Boromir's body. But yeah, I love Faramir a lot in this. Just being the guy in the shadow of the brother, the war hero, whatever that Boromir is praised to be. Yeah,
I love the flashback scene and just getting more Sean Bean as Boromir.
Yeah, that's true.
Always like he is so good in that role. Just seeing that character again, you just love that it shows up in this movie.
Yeah, as soon as we got to him, I had like a vague memory of not liking his subplot. So I don't know if it was more filled out in the extended cut that kind of like explains why he's doing what he's doing. Because I maybe the first time I saw this movie, I left to go to the bathroom or something, and it showed that flashback where he was like being shunned by his father. So like when I had memories of this character, I still didn't even remember like, why is he doing this? I can't even remember. But then they showed the flashback and I was like, oh, so he's trying to impress his father finally. And Hannah in the chat says the theatrical doesn't do him justice at all. So maybe I didn't misremember things.
Yeah, there's a lot more added for Faramir in this.
Another small scene, and I feel like there's so many scenes in this that are not like the big players, but the scene where Elrond is talking to Arwen about leaving. My note is just that he's making a pretty good argument, but just that too, like that scene, that feels like a scene that's probably just in the extended, but like that like builds that character somewhat. Like Liv Tyler's role is so small, but it adds such like a level of depth also to Aragorn's character, and just seeing that scene and that argument that Elrond makes to his daughter, was so good, especially from like, I think like a father-daughter perspective of like being in that situation and like trying to convince your daughter of like, your chances are slim here. You have a pretty safe bet of eternal life if you come with us, and just as like, but a father like making that like plea with his daughter. I really love that scene.
I also just wrote down a quote, man flesh.
Iconic scene.
That's even on Letterboxd how he's credited.
Oh, that's right. That's
flesh
you posted that screenshot, I think, right? What do your elf eyes see? Another infamous Apex quote that we hear all the time.
Yeah,
playing Xbox. We haven't talked about Frodo, Sam, and Gollum. Is there anything in your notes about those three, Danny?
No, I feel like they're very minor in this. I mean, they have kind of, I feel like their moments to shine are with other people. So when I feel like their biggest moments are with Faramir being taken to the city, and when Faramir finally lets him go and stuff. But there's just so much about them that is very minimal in this film, to me, in my opinion. Hannah brings up a good point in chat. Sam's speech is incredible that he gives as well. But I don't know. There's just not much to them in this to talk about. I like, I don't know. I guess it's just like a couple bits, like when Sam gets stuck under the rubble and their cloaks act like a rock laying there at the feet of
that's a great
the
scene.
men. I like that shot. That's a really cool scene. But yeah, I feel like Return of the King is, in my opinion, the big Sam Frodo stuff.
But even that, I feel like this is Sean Astin's moment. Like his performance in this is really great. Like he really gave it 110%. Like he's more relevant than like Frodo, I feel like, at least in terms of him speaking and like, and just his scenes. The speech at the end. I just love how it's communicated though, of the connection that Frodo and Gollum have. And just like the power of the ring. I feel like that's really, it's very subtle in this, but they work really well to communicate it. He has like that one outburst where he's like overwhelmed by the ring and he like yells at Sam. It just really like fleshes out that side of the story.
Also the camera angle of him holding that little sword up to Sam, that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
I think there was a call out in chat earlier of the Smeagol Gollum conversation. That was really well done earlier in the movie too.
The multiple personalities. Yeah, it's a solid scene.
That is all of my notes for the Two Towers. I did one, actually, no, I stand corrected, that when Snape 2 hands that letter signed by the king, there's like this really big wax signature on the letter. God, that thing was huge. Loved it.
My one little tiny note, and it's just a moment that I always look for and love in this, is when I think they're at Rohan at this point, but it's when at night when Aragorn and Gandalf are having the conversation about what's happening, what's going on. And when Gandalf finds out that Sam is with Frodo, the light in his face, he just like perks up. I don't know what it is, but it's just such a great moment. And Gandalf is just happy that Frodo's not alone. So it's solid. It's such a good performance.
Yeah, I liked that. I wrote down in that scene. He's like, Frodo has to go alone. He must go alone. Oh, Sam's with him? Okay, that's fine.
Oh, God.
Proto, anything else on your list that we didn't cover?
My last note is Pippin and Merry. After the end of this, they're at Isengard. It's flooded. They find a storage room of food. And so they're halfway around the world. They've been kidnapped by orcs, but they still have their pipes intact. That's commitment. Like, how did those guys do that, getting dragged across Rohan by these orcs? But,
it's impressive.
I love this movie. I loved it more probably than the last few watches, especially like the aspect of like, these men, who are so weak, but they're like fighting for their people, and just the story of, the two kings and like, this is their last stand. If they don't stand here, the world will fall. Like, I mean, it's so epic, and it really is. I mean, it's a marvel. I wasn't expected to feel this way, but I really love this. And I wasn't, like before I've gotten bored or just like it's too long and I would shut it off. But I felt so engaged this whole time. This is probably like my favorite viewing, probably since the first time I've seen it. So I'm giving this 5 stars.
Oh my gosh. Slim, before you talk, there is one note you have to not skip over. And how you brought up in the beginning that there's not 2 towers in the 2 towers. Can you explain your thought process on this one?
I forgot I even said that earlier in the show. Yeah, I didn't consider Sauron's eye a tower. Is that the other tower? Yeah, I don't know. It's just like
door.
It's just like an eye thing that you see from time to time. Sauron's eye. It's like the tower and the eye. I don't know. I just consider
it's
them
only
2
1,000
towers.
feet tall. Can't be a talent.
It can't be.
All right, let me give my final thoughts before we get Danny's 5-star rating. I had a great time watching this. So many beautiful scenes, the greatest action fight scene of all time. But the tree stuff drug, the Sauruman oddities in the extended cut were just kind of a weird aside that I didn't like at all. So I am at 4.5 stars for The Two Towers. Loved it, but there are some flaws in the extended edition that I wish he would have sliced out, in my opinion.
That's the same as Tick, Tick, Boom. Are you kidding me right now?
Also, I love that like a 4.5-star rating is like ghastly to everyone.
You might as well give it a 1 star.
I knew it was coming, but I'm not gonna bend over and give a 5-star rating to a movie that I don't believe is a 5-star movie viewing, in my opinion. So I'm gonna hold my ground and not bend.
Yeah, we're here for you. We'll protect you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Danny, let's hear it.
Yes, it's a 5-star movie for me. I'm with Proto on this as well. There was something about this viewing. I guess I hadn't seen Two Towers in a long time. I've seen Fellowship, I feel like, a million times, but watching it, fresh eyes, a long time, last year, but still, on purpose, with a purpose. And 5 stars. This is a great movie, great film. Had a great time. I'm glad we could let everyone know that this is the best fight scene in all of cinema.
We have some VMs to get to. I'm excited to get to Return of the King because the only thing I remember about Return of the King is the spider, and that's legit it. Like that's it.
Oh gosh.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I remember having like, visceral reaction to the spider scenes in that movie. I do not like spiders. I don't need to see any of that stuff.
Okay.
You can shoot us a letter or a VM at 70mmpod.com. There's links on there. I referenced him earlier. Let's hear from the Indiana Jones expert himself.
Excuse me.
Jonesy. Quote, figured I'd write a letter and put one of you three to work. Many people quote the trivia about Aragorn's broken toes in this movie so often that it's become a meme. So I have something a little more heartfelt.
Oh, gosh.
My actual favorite trivia involves legendary swordmaster Bob Anderson. Beyond being an Olympic fencing coach and actor opposite Errol Flynn, Bob is responsible for all of your favorite movie sword fights. One of his first credits is working on a Bond film, Moonraker, that features quite a few Rings alumni in the franchise, such as Christopher Lee from The Man with the Golden Gun. He was the one inside Vader's suit in Empire and Jedi, choreographer of such movies as The Princess Bride, The Three Musketeers, The Phantom, Zorro, and of course, Lord of the Rings. Before his death, Bob was asked in all of his career, whom did he feel was the best swordsman? The answer, of course, Viggo. Bob called him the most naturally gifted swordsman he had ever trained. I always remembered that for some reason. Anyhow, I'm glad you three didn't give these movies the Dune treatment. Shout out to producer Dale, who will always be my brother, my captain, and my king. That comes from Dune Dane Ranger JLB.
Wow.
Well over the Dune line with this one.
I mean, it annihilated the Dune line, if we're being frank. Thank you, Jonesy.
Wow.
The storyteller himself in that email, we all heard it come to fruition.
That guy, what was his name? Was it Bob Anderson?
Bob Anderson.
Yeah, he's in that documentary on there too. Just with training all the guys with the swords. It's really cool to see him working. And they like all praised him as like a genius. It was really cool.
Gen Z in chat also choreographed Highlander, forgot to mention.
We can't include that in the show. We'll have to cut that out.
Yeah, that
wasn't in the email.
We can't let people know Jonesy forgot about Highlander. Can't make that public.
That's very disappointing to hear. Let's get to some VMs here right now, okay? This one comes from Kev.
Hello, Slimly, Lego Haas, and Proto Lexus. It's Kev here. Look, I gotta tell you the truth. When I first saw the Lord of the Rings movies, my dad and I went every Super Bowl Sunday as they were coming out, 2002, 3, and 4. And I didn't get it. I didn't see what the buzz was all about. I didn't really retain a lot. These movies are long. And I was more concerned with like Pixar and Austin Powers and bright, colorful comedy stuff. But a decade later, AMC re-released the extended editions in theaters in the run-up to the Blu-ray box set release. And that is when I really fell in love with these incredible movies. My question to you, what is a franchise or a movie that took you forever to turn around on, but when you did, if applicable, you loved it as much as I now love Lord of the Rings? Another movie example for me is Punch Drunk Love, which I revisited last year finally as like an adult. And turns out you got to be an adult to understand that movie. Thanks very much, guys. Good luck on The Two Towers. A movie with no real beginning and no real end. And I know how confused you guys get about things like that. So best of luck to you. Love you guys. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Not acknowledging the last comment, but I will acknowledge and give props to Kev for editing his voicemail. I heard a little bit of an edit in that voicemail to keep it under 90 seconds.
Sounded real good.
Very much
imagine thinking Two Towers doesn't have a beginning and an end, but okay.
Keep this for the Dune Discord, wherever it is, okay?
Yeah, get that out of here.
I can't think of a franchise that I've come around to love. I mean, maybe it's this one because I don't watch Lord of the Rings, like I said last week.
You're not a LARPer.
I don't LARP. I don't go to where you get the
festivals,
turkey legs.
Ren fairs.
But I was
You're not a cosplayer.
That's true. I don't really cosplay. Probably the reverse franchise would be...
Excuse me.
James Bond. My James Bond journey, when I went to rewatch all those, these memories of like, oh, the James Bond movies are so fun. They're all great. That's a lie. Everyone that tells you that, they're lying to your face. It's just not true. So that's probably the only thing I can think of. Proto, can you think of any franchise?
I think for me, and I have proof that I've come around on this. When I didn't see all the Alien movies. I only really saw Alien, and then I saw Aliens first, then I saw Alien, and I didn't really care that much. And then I saw Prometheus, and they weren't really that big of a deal to me. But then last year I went on that journey. I feel like they're one of my favorites, so much so that I just received something else today. I'll show the guys. You see this right here?
Oh my gosh.
I received the Alien Covenant art book called David's Drawings.
Oh,
this is a hardcover. This right here, look at this.
Didn't we talk about this in an episode? I feel like how we wanted to get our hands on this art book.
I got my hands on this art book. I love Alien, and I am so excited to dig into this. This book is insane.
Oh, my
amazing!
God, it's great. We need to get some pics in Discord at some point in the future.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
I'm gonna get some pics. Yeah, but that's the answer for me. I think I love Alien. I've said it before. I would take an Alien movie every other year for the rest of my life. Okay, that's where I'm at.
Not to potentially derail, but remember, it didn't end well. But remember the hype train that we were on for Raised by Wolves on HBO? Stop. When that came out, that was like the second coming of television
had
for
some
us.
Potential for that.
Such great heights, crashing and burning.
Its second season's coming out soon. I think there was a trailer that came out recently. Although our least, I don't know if our least favorite actor of all time is going to play a big part.
Stop. I don't want to think about it.
Our Viking King.
Danny, what about this franchise question for you?
I do have one. I finally have come around on Ghostbusters. That's been my big comeuppance. I didn't care about it at all for a long time. And a couple years ago, I finally got around to watching the first one again. And I think my Letterboxd score keeps going up for it every time I watch it. I'm going to eventually probably get to 5 stars. I really do love that first movie. Second one's fine. A lot of people S on it more than I would, probably because I don't love it as much as everybody else. But and then Afterlife. I mean, these 3 movies have been pretty special. I've really enjoyed digging into Ghostbusters lore. I did Secret Cinema this past Saturday, the Ghostbusters Secret Cinema with the 6 people, and had a good time with that. And
yeah, I want to hear about that in the post show.
Sure, it's just been fun getting into this franchise.
Never would have expected it. That was a franchise that was, I think, Slimfluence for you. When people brought up Ghostbusters around you, you were going through the fog.
Defensive,
with the sword, with your staffs in the Fellowship of the Ring, you were turning the corner with your staff ready to attack someone when they brought up Ghostbusters.
Staff was
it wasn't
out
for me, and there's a lot of it. I don't know what it was. Yeah, fully Slimfluenced. I just didn't care,
Mm-hmm.
but now I do.
We're all healing one day at a time.
Mm-hmm. It's a journey.
Let's hear from Ben.
Hey, 70mm family. It's No Soul, No Problem. Last time I had talked about my experience with Fellowship of the Ring. However, this time, the difference is that the Two Towers, when I actually got to sit down and watch the entire trilogy when I was about 15 over the course of a weekend with some friends, the Two Towers really stuck out to me as and stayed as my favorite out of the trilogy for a really long time. I almost consider it my Empire Strikes Back of the trilogy. You know, you're talking about this midpoint, but it's also just got moment after moment, new characters after new characters introduced, like the Ents, and you have Gandalf the White coming back, and then you have the Theoden, which I love Theoden, and Eowyn, and you know, you're just getting introduced to a myriad of characters, but you have big scenes like the Balrog fighting scene out the Get. And honestly, like Helm's Deep is like the Battle of Hoth. It's just this memorable moment out of the entire trilogy that just really ingrains itself in your brain. It's so well done. The background with how they did the sound design is incredible to watch. And you're just getting a lot more humor in this film than you do in the other films. And it's honestly just a pleasure to watch. Lastly, I don't care how good of a character Aragorn is. You should have killed Wormtongue. Why wouldn't you kill Wormtongue? Just kill the guy. Worst decision out of the entire trilogy. Okay, guys, bye.
Plus, he gets spat on by Wormtongue, doesn't he?
Pity. He had some pity for him.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was like part of his plan because I couldn't remember the plot. Like maybe he wants him to go to Saruman, track him down, you know?
Well, it's kind of like the same thing where Gandalf tells Frodo not kill Gollum. You know, he might have another part to play. So it's kind of like the same message that Aragorn gives to Snape Jr. in the same moment.
Just for the record, that was the other Slim. That was not me who said that. Just want the record to correctly reflect that. Thank you. We got a mystery VM coming in here from the Google Voice line.
Uh-oh.
Well, hi guys. I just finished the Two Towers. It's 4 a.m. in the morning. But I feel pretty good.
Okay.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna go to bed. But can't wait to hear the episode. Peace.
That sounded like a George Bush-esque accent that I heard. I can't quite place it.
Was that Gollum in his room?
If you get my meaning, it could have been Gollum in his room for all I know. Now, Proto, I mentioned that V'ger hadn't been updated since Goonies, but we allegedly have a VM coming in from V'ger. I'm not sure if you're aware of any of this activity.
I have not, no.
Okay.
I'll have to check the logs.
All right.
But I have
Log
no
job.
mention of this.
Everyone check the logs.
Cut it. Just cut this stream now. Cut it right now. I need this turned off.
It's 50
Cut
seconds.
this
There's
stream,
50 seconds
and I
more
need
of
a
this.
band double right now.
I'm shutting this off.
I hate
This
this.
is not, you're not going to
Is this
monopolize
sabotage?
this. You're not going to monopolize our show with this filth. I don't know what it was, but I don't like it.
Filth.
Oh, you know what? I have to mention next week we're going to be. This is mainly for our
Oh,
patrons.
talk to us.
Next week we're going to be recording our mailbag episode. We did previously an AMA last year where people got to ask whatever they want, and we'll hang out and answer any question, maybe burning questions. So we'll have a special mailbag episode. If you want to send something in, a VM or an email, just title it mailbag, and that'll be next Thursday. We'll record before Return of the King.
Talk to us.
Talk to us. We're here. It's been a year. Next week, Return of the King. I don't remember anything about this movie except the spider, as I mentioned earlier. Gonna be a big app.
Oh, the only thing I remember from about the spider was that when the end of Two Towers, actually in the book, the spider is in Two Towers. So when the movie ended where it did, I was like, what? I remember being disappointed by that, which seems silly now, but they did shift that around. A little fact to end the night.
It's a good thing you knew that Return of the King was coming next year.
70mm is a tape deck production with original artwork provided by Danny Haas. Spiritual guidance provided and featured the robot who loves movies created by Proto. Producer Emeritus Dale_A. Transcripts provided by Sophie Shin. Prints and other merch are available on 70mmpod.com. This episode was mixed, edited, and produced by me, Slim. Support our Patreon for access to our VHS Village Discord to talk movies with new friends and access to exclusive episodes, discounts on merch, and a physical membership card mailed to you. To check out other Tape Deck podcasts, find the link in the episode notes. And if you'd like to support our friends at Letterboxd and upgrade to Pro or Patron status, you can do so with a 20% off discount using the links on 70mmpod.com. Goodbye.
This is a Tape Deck podcast.